Welcome. In front of me I have the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold4, and today I'll show you a couple of tweaks, tricks, and some useful maybe apps for this specific device. Now before I actually get started, I'm just gonna quickly give it a wipe down so the phone is a little bit nicer looking. There we go, much better. So I'm gonna kind of get started with the more common ones that you can access on, well, most of the devices, and slowly trickle down to the other ones that are specifically just for the Fold lineup, or maybe even just this specific Fold4. So, and after that, I'm gonna move over to some useful things that you might want to get for your Fold as well. So for instance, something like this. So this is a dongle Type-C to HDMI along with USB ports and SD card readers, along with some other ones like, for instance, this keyboard right here. I'll kind of touch upon this a little bit more once I get to it. So anyway, let's just jump straight to it. So to start off, I'm gonna change the phone from the button navigation to gestures. So to do so, obviously I'm gonna open up settings and display navigation bar and just switch it to this. And as you can see, this still keeps our taskbar, which that will also touch upon another thing. With the buttons, you kind of couldn't do anything with the taskbar, but when you have gesture navigation, you can hide it. And you do so by just simply holding it. As you can see, it kind of minimizes, disappears, gives you this pop-up the first time around, just close it, and that's it. So you now have a full screen experience, and whenever you want to use that taskbar, you can just hold it again. Now it's a little bit wonky at the moment. Sometimes if you have like text, so let me just get rid of it. So if the text is like right there and you try to bring it up, sometimes it won't bring up the taskbar. So it might be a little bit annoying, but other than that, it seems to work perfectly fine for most times. Now, one more thing that I will mention about the taskbar is if you're using a custom launcher, you will not have access to taskbar. Now, I'm not sure what the Samsung thinks right here. Like, it's, as far as I'm aware, this is a Android feature, not Samsung. So I'm not sure why they basically went out of their way to make it not work with like custom launchers. And just to kind of showcase this, I'm gonna quickly grab my phone and let's just open something up like, let's see, what can I open that would be decent here? No, I'm just gonna open up music. So there we go, you see my music. Now, as you can probably see, for me it's hidden. And just before I actually do anything, you can see I'm using a custom launcher. So this is the Smart Launcher, newest one. So going back to my music, as you can see, holding it, it does not bring up anything. And if you would navigate into the settings where the taskbar is, so that's something under the display section. You quickly search for it. Yep, so it is under the display. Where is it? Full screen. Oh, there we go. There it is. So you can see taskbar, it's turned off, and I can't turn it on. It just literally won't let me when I'm using my custom launcher, which is absolute BS in my opinion. So that is something to keep in mind when using the taskbar at the bottom, and maybe thinking about switching to something like Nova Launcher or some other launcher in itself, which will result in you basically not being able to use taskbar. Now moving on to the next one, this is going to be a little bit more battery conserving option. So let's navigate to, not biometrics, to, where is it? There we go, battery and device care. From here, click on your battery and then scroll down a little bit further, more battery settings. You'll find performance profile. Now it is set to standard right now, but we do have light. Now what light will do is basically lower down the performance of the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 right here, and it will obviously perform a little bit worse. It's still, in my personal opinion, not even close to what you might actually like have any kind of visual indication that it's performing worse. So honestly, switching between those two, I cannot tell the difference. Even games, I cannot tell the difference. Now, the difference here actually is in battery life. So you will supposedly get a better battery life, but unlike the power saving mode, which supposedly does the same thing, power saving mode will disable the high refresh rate. So if you're running your phone at 120 Hz refresh rate, power saving mode turns that off. The light profile mode right here will not. It will still run at 120 Hz. It will just lower the processor speed, basically not forcing it to draw as much power, and does give you a little bit more battery life. Now, I haven't actually done any kind of like significant testing or any testing whatsoever, to be honest, with this, so I'm not sure how much of a difference this will have, but having it enabled or disabled, personally to me, makes no difference to me. Phone seems to be running as quick as it does normally, so I'm just keeping it on. If it gives me several minutes, that's fine. I cannot tell the difference anyway, so that's fine. Well, anyway, let's move over to the next one, which will be the split screen. So you can quickly access applications in split screen mode by just going into this panel right here and grabbing some kind of app from here. So that's one way. So for instance, if I want to split screen with Chrome, I'll just grab it and drag it over to one of the sides where I want to, as you can see. Drop it, and there you go. It's now in split screen mode. You can also do so by just getting it from here, I believe. I haven't actually tested it out, so no time like the present. So let's pick something that I can use. Yep, there we go. So that works as well. And this will then bring me to another option, which will be associated with the split screen. Let me just close this off because I do want to access settings. So next option that I wanted to show is located in the advanced features. There we go, advanced features in the main settings, and it's called Labs. Now in here you'll find a couple different things like multi-window, window for all apps. Some apps don't apparently support basically being open not as a main application, so they will close off things like split screen. This should help you. Full screen in split screen view. This will directly affect how this looks. So if I enable this, you can see it gets rid of the taskbar, which you cannot bring out at the moment when this is enabled like this, and also gets rid of the status bar. If that is something that you don't want, then just keep it off. There is obviously one downside with this being enabled. You can get rid of the taskbar from the bottom by just holding it and it will hide, but you can't get rid of the status bar. But when you enable this, obviously you don't have access to taskbar anymore. So it's kind of like a win-lose scenario right here in my opinion. And we have a couple additional ones. These are also some of the more interesting ones. So I'm going to close right now the split screen and showcase these. So we have the swipe for pop-up view. You can tap on it and it will show you how you can access this. So just enable it, and I'm going to quickly showcase this. So grab it from the edge, boom, drop it, and look at that. It's now running in window mode. Now if you want to full screen it again, you actually can't do what I just did. You have to tap on this icon right here and then select it to be full screen. Now another one that was here was the swipe for split screen, and this will require you to do, I think, 2 fingers from the side. Yep, there we go. And you can just choose a knob and voila, there we go. Okay, so now moving on to something else that I personally don't like having enabled is the holding for Bixby. I prefer my power options right here when you hold power key. So to get this back, all you would need to do is navigate again to advanced features, and it should be somewhere in here. Yep, there we go. Side key, power off menu, and there we go. Now I know we have different options of accessing it by holding power and volume down or pulling down the notifications, but personally I've been basically brainwashed into using it this way for ever since smartphones exist, to the point that I just don't want to switch to anything else. It just seems it's stuck to me, and I don't use I don't use Bixby or Hey Google, so it doesn't really matter to me. Anyway, now next thing that I wanted to show is a little change that kind of bugged me. I've been using before a phone that had under display fingerprint sensor, and if you are aware, when you basically press your finger to the display, it automatically unlocks the phone. Now here, if you have it, for instance, closed, you have to press the button to unlock it. If you touch it, as you can see, it does nothing. You have to press it. That is something that I didn't really like. So, oops, there's actually a way you can change this. So let's navigate into settings. There we go. And you will navigate to biometrics and security. Select your fingerprint. You do need to, again, put your pattern in. And here you'll find this option, Fingerprint Always On. Enable this. And now I'll try to showcase this, how light I'm pressing is. So you can see I'm not pressing it at all. Pressing would be now. So personally, this is something that I prefer. It just removes that additional press. I know it seems kind of stupid, but for me, it's just kind of how I prefer it. So if you have the same kind of maybe traditions from under display fingerprint sensor, then this will probably be a nice change for you as well. Anyway, now moving on to the next one, it's going to touch upon the edge panel. Now I already did kind of showcase this a little bit for split screening, but the edge panel has some more features to it. It's basically similar to as it is on almost any other Samsung device, and I mean only Samsung devices. And when you pull it out, obviously you have the apps right here. You've already seen that. You have the little button right here. You can edit the apps or see all apps, whatever. I mean, I'm pretty sure all of you figured this out, but there's actually more settings behind it. So let's just grab it out again. It has this gear icon visible for just a short moment. In here, you have a bunch of different tiles that you can add to the side panel. So these are all the ones that come installed with the device. You can utilize them if you want to or not. So for instance, if I want to add weather, I'm just gonna select that and that's it. Now I can close this and now swipe to the side on it. And as you can see, it has weather additionally on it. And moving on, let's go into the settings. And let's see, where was that side panel? I think it was under the display. Ah, there we go, edge panel. So as you can see in here, we also have a couple additional things about edge panel, show on main and cover screen. So if you want to show it on, for instance, cover screen, sometimes you might, I don't know, pull it out by mistake. Damn, that sounded super wrong. But yeah, you can get rid of it right here. Handle allows you to customize it. So this is the section where you can just change how big it is, colors, and how visible it is. So let's see, positions, right or left. Choose whichever one you want. You can grab right here to move it up or down, as you can see. So if you want to have it higher, maybe so you don't mistakenly swipe on it, you can do so. And transparency. So just change it to black. There we go. So you can see with it being set to, for instance, something like black, it's fully black right now. Or it can be white, which is actually transparent, but there's nothing behind it, so it just kind of looks like an outline. You have size, make it smaller, and how far it protrudes from the actual panel. So you can make it so it's virtually not visible whatsoever, if that is something that you want. I don't think it's actually visible right now at all. See. Yeah, that looks kind of neat. And vibrate when handle as touch, you can disable that if that bugs you. But yeah, anyway, let's just get out of here. It still works just fine, as you can see. And we have panels right here again. And I think we should also... Ah, there we go. There's the edit Oh no, that's not for it. I'm pretty sure you can also download additional panels from the Galaxy Store. So I'm not sure why it's not giving me the option to do it right here. Usually, if I remember correctly, there was a way to access the Galaxy Store from here, but it's not visible anymore for some reason. But you should be able to gain some more. Though I'll mention that if you find them from experience, they were usually paid. So the good ones did cost about $1. Not much, but still a little bit annoying considering Fold like this costs already pretty penny, and then you need to pay more just to access some of its features. A little bit doesn't really sit well with me, but I digress. So now we're gonna move on to the next one, which will be the continuing apps on the cover screen. Now this is not gonna be for everybody because it might add additional steps. So this is for just specific apps and maybe specific use case scenario, and also that won't apply to every one of you that might be watching this, because normally just gonna do this the other way around. So all the apps are working the way that they will continue on the main screen when you open them up on a cover screen. So if I, for instance, open up something like a Galaxy Store, I have no network, but anyway, Galaxy Store, and I open the device up, it will continue that on the main screen. But if I close the device, it will automatically close that application off. As you can see, it does not continue the app even though it even started on here. So if you want to have that option where you use some app right here, but then you want to move over to the smaller screen for some reason, whatever the case for this might be, you actually can enable this. So let's navigate into settings again, and we're gonna go into the display. Gonna scroll down to continue apps on cover screen. And here you can choose whichever app you want to continue on the cover screen. So I'll just enable Chrome as an example for this. So again, before I open it up, I'll close the device, and you can see nothing running here. So now I'm gonna open up Chrome, close it, and there you go. As you can see, it won't, because of that, it won't actually turn off the display. It will automatically move over whatever you are doing on the inside to the outside. It will wake up the display. So that's why I also mentioned that it might not be for everybody, because with that in mind, when you close the device, it actually won't be locking. It will just continue whatever app you had open and that you have selected. Now, obviously, if you close this app and close it, it will lock the device. It just won't lock the device when specific apps that are enabled for continuing on the cover screen are open. It will continue them, which Chrome, if you tend to use that quite often as an example, and you use it on main display, then you want to put your phone in your pocket, you obviously fold it up, and then it does that extra step where you will need to basically lock the device yourself. Okay, now moving on to the next option that I want to showcase, it's the flex mode. Now, to me, I want to showcase this because for some people it might have some use case scenario. I personally haven't found ones just yet. So there is maybe one in YouTube. I can actually turn on or connect to my Wi-Fi just so I can maybe showcase this. There we go. So let's find the YouTube. Now this will only work when the screen is, well, it's in landscape, I guess. It's almost square, so it's kind of hard to differentiate them, but basically when it's sideways, when the crease is going this way. So once you have it open like this, you can then fold it partially. So do it like half fold, and apparently it didn't bring anything up, so let's try it again. I need to open up a video.
Test.
Let's try it again. Oh, so it's already enabled for YouTube. As you can see, when you do this, it will open up the video on the top portion, and then you have everything else at the bottom. When you expand it, as you can see, it changes. So do that again. Oops, trying to get rid of the light. So there we go. And you can enable this with different applications, though there is a little bit of a caveat to this, so I'm going to quickly show what I mean. So let's go into the settings, and then additional features, additional advanced, I think. There we go. Advanced features and labs. There we go. Flex mode panel. So I did enable it for a couple ones. So I know that you basically select every app that you want to use with this mode, but just before you start checking all of them up, thinking that they have some majestic features behind it, the app needs to literally be optimized for it. If it's not, like Chrome, and you do this, it just does this. So it moves the bottom portion of it to the top screen, if you can call it a top screen, and then you can just close this as an example if you want to, or you can access things like trackpad. So right now you can barely see it, but there is like this trackpad area, and as you can see, you have basically a trackpad. You have volume and brightness control along with a keyboard, I think. No, not keyboard. There we go. Ah, there we go. And a keyboard popping up like this. So it's kind of trying to imitate a really janky laptop. And not sure if that will be useful for a lot of people. Honestly, with apps that do not support this, it just feels kind of pointless. Apps that do support it, like YouTube, do seem to be working just fine with this, and it might be useful in certain uses. But anyway, now moving on to the other options. So, like I said, if you have something like a Type-C little dongle, if you have a MacBook or anything like that, you probably have one. But what this allows you to do, number one, is if you have an HDMI, you can plug monitor to it. I don't really have a long enough cable to showcase this, and it'd be a little bit wonky to try to show you my monitor, but I guess you'll just have to take my word for it. So what it allows you to do, once you plug in a monitor, it will start casting the screen to the monitor. But there is an additional thing that it can do, which is pull down your notification, extend it, and in here you'll find DeX. Now for some reason, even though this device is quite big as a main display, it will not allow you to enable DeX just natively on it for some odd reason. Not sure why, but it is what it is. But you can use DeX while being wirelessly connected to your TV, as an example, or a monitor that supports wireless connection, or you can do it on a PC, again wireless, or by obviously connecting it through HDMI. And this will also allow you to enable DeX. Now, the addition of having something like this, I'm gonna actually do that right now. So I'm gonna plug it in. And I do have my little not keyboard, but mouse. And plug in the dongle for it. Ah, there we go. And you have genuine support for mouse and keyboard. Obviously you can also add a keyboard. I do have a wireless one, which you can kind of see right here. Sorry for the ruckus. There we go. So I do have a wireless one, though I also supports a cable, so that's what I'm gonna use just for simplicity's sake. I'm gonna connect that as well. And actually, in the case of the keyboard that I do have, you know what? I'm gonna do this. Let me just completely destroy this setup right here. So the keyboard that I do have is the Nufi Air 60, which when I was buying it as a pre-order, it came with this nice cover for it. And that cover doubles as a kickstand for things like phones, tablets, and so on. And if I just maybe unclip it, this won't really work too well when it's unclipped because it's going to be laying down flush. But still, I just want to showcase this. So with something like this, you can basically have a laptop-like experience. Obviously, it would be probably nicer with something like a DeX working on here as well, so you can have like normal-looking Windows experience. But as you can see, this works just fine. An additional part where this works even better would be, let me quickly grab my phone, and open this up. So if you tend to play games on your phone, this will be absolutely perfect for you. Obviously, you can connect a gamepad if you want to your phone, and this will work just as well. Personally, I'm a PC gamer, so for me, mouse and keyboard is a little bit more my speed. I prefer to have a little bit more precise input with the mouse, just because I'm absolutely crap when it comes down to utilizing a controller thumbstick. But give me a second, I'm just in the process of connecting, so I can show you what I'm talking about. So I'm gonna unplug this and bring my phone in a second. Hopefully I will need to log in, and I don't. So here we got GeForce Now running on the phone, and I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. And again, I'm gonna connect mouse and keyboard to this. And come on. Now I am running right now on a pretty garbage network connection, so as you probably see, the input lag is quite substantial. If you have at home a Wi-Fi 6 router or anything like that, the experience will be just night and day. It's basically minimal input and it's totally playable without any kind of problem. But here, because the network is occupied by a lot of other employees along with people watching YouTube and so on, the connection here, the speed for it is just a little bit meh. But you'll see in a second once this loads. Number one, I'm using GeForce Now, and they did add recently support for 4:3 aspect ratio, which basically makes this run full screen. Now there's a lot of lights, so it might look a little bit dim right here. And this isn't running at a native resolution as the display supports. This is just running, I think, like 16 by 1200 or 1600 by 1200. So it's a little bit lower than the actual full resolution of this phone. But honestly, at the size of this display, you can't really see any kind of pixelations, especially at the distance that I'm right now looking at. And you can see it works just fine. There's not much I can do right here, but yeah, it works flawlessly. And obviously with the new GeForce Now update, they added custom resolutions. The reason why I did this is because custom resolutions doesn't allow you to set up a custom resolution. It just gives you a predetermined 16 by 10 and 4:3 and 5:4 resolutions. So there's like 7 new resolutions apart from like 4K, 16 by 9 and 2K along with 1080p. So it's a little bit underwhelming in terms of the custom part, but still for this phone it's still perfect. The inclusion of 4:3 is perfect for this phone. As you can see, it just gives you a minimum amount of bezels right here, so the experience right here is fantastic. And obviously if you use something like the GeForce Now, you also have the option for on-screen gamepad. So if you don't have an actual gamepad, you can utilize this instead. And I'm gonna unplug this, get rid of this for a moment. Now this will be an atrocious experience on this network, so bear with me. As you can see, the latency is quite significant right here, but obviously you can see it works just fine. So anyway, this is probably the last thing that I wanted to showcase right here. And yeah, I recommend checking out streaming applications. I personally, like I said, I'm using the GeForce Now. It's running just fine. If you have a good internet connection, I think it's unrivaled. And if you want to have a bigger library, access to more well-known titles and newer ones, then I would probably recommend maybe checking out something like the Xbox Cloud, I think it's called. It comes bundled up with their like premium subscription, where you have access to like their new releases, where you can just play them whenever, and it comes basically as a portion of it cloud streaming. So if you want, you can check it out. But yeah, anyway, I know this was a long video, so if you stuck around for the entire thing, thanks for watching. You're an absolute OG, and if you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.